From 1999 to 2010, the Dragon Challenge roller coaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure in Orlando, Florida, was perhaps the most adrenaline-packed, thrilling and rather insane roller coaster on the planet. And unfortunately, it was also dangerous. It was actually made of twin roller coasters with two intertwined tracks on which two trains are released simultaneously, which meant that one would be chasing the other. It was a one-of-a-kind ride. On at least 3 different occasions, the two racing trains passed within mere inches of each other at the numbing speed of 60 miles per hour. It was a miracle that they never crashed, because if they did, the body count would have been unbearable and horrific beyond imagination. Many minor injuries were often reported by people who took the ride. However, in one case, the injuries were terrifying and caused a tourist to become blind. In another incident, the roller coaster killed an employee after it smashed into him while he was conducting inspections. Stay tuned to learn more about this amazing yet deadly and now defunct Dragon Challenge dual roller coaster and the stories of the 2 most deadly incidents it caused. Universal's Islands of Adventure is a theme park located in Orlando, Florida. It opened on May 28, 1999, along with City Walk, as part of an expansion that converted Universal Studios Florida into the Universal Orlando Resort. It is one of the most visited parks in the world, and for good reason, such as the fact that it has a very intriguing and fun design where patrons feel that they're on a journey of exploration. The great year-round weather and endless modern and unique rides made Islands of Adventure rank 7th domestically and 11th internationally after hosting approximately 8.1 million guests in 2013. The Dragon Challenge roller coaster, which was called the Dueling Dragons from 1999 to 2010, was a pair of intertwined, inverted roller coasters in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter area of Universal Islands of Adventure. It was themed to 2 chasing dragons, one side being a Chinese fireball and the other a Hungarian horntail. It featured a layout in which the 2 trains shared adjacent lift hills but traversed 2 unique courses. This stunning ride was designed by Bolliger and Mabillard of Switzerland. Both versions had a maximum speed of 60 miles per hour and featured 5 loops. During much of the ride's history, the trains were dispatched simultaneously, creating 3 near-miss encounters along the courses. However, after 2 riders sustained injuries after getting hit by flying objects when the 2 trains were closest, the park changed the timing and began dispatching the 2 trains separately. One of the most mysterious incidents to ever take place at Universal Islands of Adventure Park occurred on July 8, 2009. The mystery surrounding the story has to do with the fact that the victim was a park maintenance worker whose name was never released, even though he died on that day after being transferred to a hospital. All evidence points out to the fact that the park employee was violently hit by the train of the Dueling Dragons roller coaster while performing an inspection at the bottom of the ride. The park never released his name nor details about the nature of the injuries he sustained that day. According to one source, he died that day in a hospital. 9/11 call records described the horrific scene in such a way that points out he might even have died at the park right after the incident. What is even more mystifying about this man's death is that the media never released his name or the details of the incident's aftermath. According to eyewitnesses, the park employee was seriously injured after being struck in the head by a ride car as the Dueling Dragons ride was going through its morning checks. At 7 a.m., an unidentified park staff member called 911 for help. His words were, "Like to request a unit for an unresponsive employee that was hit by one of the rides." "Someone is unresponsive?" asked the 911 operator. He was hit by one of the ride vehicles at Dueling Dragons, replied the caller. From being hit on the head, okay, responded the dispatcher. Emergency services officials provided few details about the incident and only stated that the man was found unresponsive upon arrival at the scene and that he was transported by ground to Orlando Regional Medical Center in critical condition. One of the reasons this man's death remains a mystery is because there were no witnesses other than those who work at the park very early in the morning inspecting rides. The incidents took place while the park was still closed and thus empty, which meant there were no patrons and thus no witnesses to elaborate on the story. Mind you, that the ride was shut down for mere hours and was back online before the afternoon. Believe it or not, but to this very day, the park would not elaborate on what exactly happened to that employee. I guess they just do things differently in Florida. A second serious incident occurred at the park on Sunday, July 31st, 2011, when a tourist identified as Carlo Montalvo was injured on the Dragon Challenge roller coaster. He later became blind. 52-year-old Carlos Montalvo and his wife were on vacation from Puerto Rico when the fun vacation turned into a nightmare. He and his wife were sitting in the front row, and as the twin roller coaster trains veered near each other, something hit him hard in his right eye. What happened to Carlos was disturbing because he already had issues with his left eye before the incident. His right eye was the good one, and because of his incident, it was removed and replaced with a prosthetic eye. Sadly, Carlos became mostly blind, barely able to see. To this day, no one has been able to identify the object that hit him in the eye, nor where it landed later. And sadly, the park kept insisting that the object probably fell from a rider on the second train on the dual roller coaster. According to witnesses, when Carlos was hit, he kept screaming from the extremely excruciating pain for the rest of the ride. The ride was back online the next day as if nothing had happened, while Carlos Montalvo hired a lawyer to sue the park, and it is most likely that they reached an out-of-court settlement. We did intensive research to determine whether the state launched an investigation into this incident, or the one in which an employee died back in 2009, and we found nothing. Additionally, every time there was an incident, the park merely conducted internal inspections and concluded that it was not their fault, nor was there anything wrong with the involved rides. Records show that the park has reported only 5 injuries involving the attraction during the past decade, including reports of chest pain, back pain and groin pain, shortness of breath, and numbness in one arm. Anyway, a similar incident occurred less than 2 weeks later. John Wilson, a 19-year-old from Ohio, said he was hit by an object while riding the attraction. Wilson could not be reached for comment, but he told a local TV station in August that he was struck on his foot, arm, and face. It's not clear whether Wilson launched a lawsuit or sustained serious injuries. His story simply ended after the interview. Nevertheless, after these 2 consecutive incidents on the Dragon Challenge ride, the Islands of Adventure Park decided that the twin coasters will no longer race each other on the rails. The new change involved not launching the trains together so that they don't come too close to each other. According to insiders and the many people who suffered minor injuries while on the Challenge Dragon ride, there was something wrong with the ride, and since the state did not intervene in any of the incidents and allowed the park to self-inspect, there was no hard evidence to prove it. In October 2017, the park decided to bury the truth by closing and dismantling the dual ride, citing that the coasters had reached the end of their service life. Some industry critics contend that the records supplied by Universal theme parks, which must report only injuries that result in an immediate hospital stay of at least 24 hours for purposes other than medical observation, don't capture all of the injuries that occur in the parks, which draws tens of thousands of visitors each day. Have you ever been on the Dragon Challenge? What do you think of it and the park? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell button to get notified every time we upload a new video that will take you to the heart of the scenes and mysteries of some of the most terrifying incidents, accidents, disasters, and paranormal events from around the world.